Hey everyone, today I want to go over the many reasons I think that introverts make really good photographers. Sure, I might have a little bit of a personal bias here, but I really do think that it's doable, it's possible, and it's probably even to your benefit to be an introvert in this career. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC, and a self-proclaimed introvert. And I pulled up the definition here on my phone, which reads, introverts, they feel more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening externally. Sure, but I think if you've at any point this week said, oh, I hate people, you probably can classify as an introvert for this video. So if you're an introvert, if you're someone like Michael Jordan or Larry Page or Barack Obama, then we can probably excel as photographers, because one of the things that we do best as introverts is that we spend a whole lot of time in our heads. As introverts, you are definitely a more introspective person who feeds off of their own energy and uses their own motivation to create the things that they create or to just live in this life. In this field, it's a very subjective type of environment, and if you don't have that self-reflection, if you don't have that self-motivation, it's going to be very difficult to find any real answers in this world. There's no real right or wrong, so if you don't think your stuff sucks, you'll never get better, and you'll never push yourself to create better and more things that will attract different people. As a photographer, you're trying to get better and to land bigger shoots and to just have a prettier portfolio that you can have an idea in your mind and be able to create it that looks exactly like what your mind was able to create. Well, you need to kind of self-motivate and self-push yourself and be like, all right, that didn't work. Why did it not work? Let's try to do it another way. That's something that as introverts, we really excel in. I think it's something that, I have a very easy time being bullied or being mocked or anything like that, because there's nothing you can say that I haven't said to myself. So I don't really have a whole lot of fears in terms of people not liking my work or people not liking something that I've done, because I'm like, well, don't worry, I already told myself that, it's fine. So I think that's one of the things that we can use to our benefit as introverts, is to just kind of be ready for, just always getting a little bit better, a little bit more, a little extra step up, and that will benefit you in your career. Even if you shoot something like portraiture, I think it's really pivotal even as introverts, because we don't need to be a party animal to be shooting with people. I understand that you might not like the biggest aspect of shooting with people is the actual shooting with people. That sucks. Everything else is great. You might love the editing, you might love the planning, you might love the idea of being able to create these things, but that 2 hours of you having to do a one-on-one with someone might be, oh my goodness, this is so scary, this is a lot, this is gonna be so emotionally draining, and I need to take the whole rest of the day to recover. But I do think as introverts, we're really good in those situations because we're so in our head, and because that, we are typically very empathetic, because we understand what it's like to be paranoid in your own head. When it comes to these situations, when you're shooting and when you're doing these one-on-ones in these portraiture environments, you don't need to be the loudmouth that has everything to say. You need to listen. You need to understand what it is that your client wants. You need to listen to what they say and listen to their body movements and listen to physically what they're saying. And from there, you can try to create something that is as close to what they want as possible. And being a photographer, by being an introverted photographer, you've probably done a whole lot of work on your own end, or a whole lot of practice and of research on your own end, so that you don't look like a fool when it comes to those situations when you're working with someone. So you can just kind of fall back on your learnings and on your teachings and on whatever it is that you've grown as a photographer, and use that, hone in on that to weigh out the nervousness of being this one-on-one with a person. Just listen to what they have to say and just take it in and do the best of your ability to create it. I don't think you need to take charge of the conversation. I don't think you need to lead the shoot in any specific way. You just need to make them happy. You just need to listen as a photographer and be like, oh, this is what you would like? Sure, I can do that by doing this. And those are things that you work on in your own head. It doesn't necessarily need to be these one-on-one things that you kind of get better at. Sure, you might be a little bit more at ease or you might be a little bit better at making people at ease as an extroverted person, or as someone who has a very easy gift to the gab and is able to just kind of talk and spitball and make people feel at ease. And that can be to your benefit as a portrait photographer. But I do think that even as an introvert, you'll still be able to excel and create incredibly stunning images because you've probably created them in your head already. You've have a very specific idea of what it is that you want to create, and now you're using some of the feedback from your client and be like, oh, this is what you want, this is what you want, this is what you want, and now you can bridge those two together and create something that's novel and unique for just your new client. And I think you're better off as an introvert doing that than you are as an extrovert who just cares about what they think and isn't actually putting in any effort to listen to others and to just, to be empathetic towards their situation. That's obviously I'm speaking in terms of extremes, and there's a scale for all of this, and you take a little bit from this page and you take a little bit from that page. But in general, I don't think that it's to your detriment to be an introvert, even as a portrait photographer. Now, hey, if portraiture isn't for you and you are still a little bit too overwhelmed, well, you can do like I did and switch to still life. I think one of the best things that I've ever done was stop focusing on working with people so much and just using the people as a byproduct of the images that I'm trying to create. Working with products, working in still life, working with food helps me just move a light by 10 degrees this way, or back up a flash by 5 millimeters that way, or add a reflector this way, or whatever it is. I can do all of those little things, and the client that's in front of me isn't complaining. It's an apple. The apple doesn't complain. So I'm able to really kind of play with my own neuroses and play with the, that introverted overthinker, very self-reflective type of mentality that I have, and I can use that to excel my photography. Because if you're just happy and you just shoot and you're like, oh, it's good enough, move on, you might not make that image 10% better, and it might take you an extra hour to make that image 10% better. But if that's what helps with you and if it helps you become a better photographer, land more clients, then it's ultimately beneficial. You don't necessarily need to be this hotshot, superstar type of photographer to be a commercial or a successful photographer, because I think as photographers, it's so wide-ranging. I think there's so many different avenues that you can play in as a photographer that it lends itself well to whatever type of person that you identify as, or whatever type of mentality that you think you have, or the way that you think can be beneficial to your photography, because photography is so widespread and you can find something that works for you. For me, photography is a way to express myself, sure, but it's also the medium that just fits the way I think. It fits the lifestyle that I can live, not even just the one I want to live, but it fits that lifestyle that I want and that I have, and also allows me to create things for other people and make them happy and pay my bills. So that's, all win-win. I think if you're in a realm of photography that makes you nervous or that makes you anxious for any sort of reason, switch. There are a million other things you can take pictures of, and there are many of them that you can use to make money in this career. It's not always about one-on-one portrait sessions. It's not always about these massive celebrity shoots for a magazine. That's not all of photography. And if that's overwhelming to you, then just don't do it. That's it. That's all. You can be successful in another realm. If you only care about cars and you want to absolutely shoot for Lexus one day, then that's awesome. Then go do that. And you might have to have a few lifestyle shots every now and then with someone walking by blurry in the background. But you're probably not going to be doing these one-on-one portrait shoots if you're trying to shoot for Lexus and Toyota. So I think, you can use this little mind shift to just approach your photography a little bit differently. If you're introverted, there is a type of photography that will work for you. And yeah, I used the first half of this video to talk about portraiture, and I think you can be a very successful introverted portrait photographer, but you can also be a very successful still life photographer, or you can be a very successful event and wedding photographer if you're the type that just sticks on the corner and uses a zoom lens and doesn't have to interact with anybody. if that works for you, then it works for you. There's a scale of this introversion, and there's a scale of these photography contracts that you can approach or use or excel in. One of the silliest things, but I think as introverts, we are very comfortable with alone time and with quiet time and with just us being by ourselves and with our thoughts. And that's so crucial as a photographer, whether that's for planning for your next shoot or just editing or any of the other things that we do that take a lot of time. It's so beneficial to be an introvert and to be okay with that and to be comfortable with the idea that, okay, for the rest of today or all of today, I have to sit at my desk, I have to edit and do nothing else and not talk to anybody, and it's going to be fine and it's going to be great and you're even excited to do it. I want to say that I think most people don't or take for granted how much time it takes to create things. And as a full-time creator, if that's what you're trying to be or that's what you are as well, it takes a lot of time to create the things that we create. People are scrolling through Instagram as lurkers. They just go next, 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 next. You spent an hour on that one photo, and then it's going to take you another 8 hours to do the one for tomorrow. And it takes a lot of energy and time to create the things that we create. So if you're not comfortable with being alone and being, putting your head down and doing some work without any type of social interaction, and that's probably not going to be the right career path for you. And that's why I think that being an introvert is so beneficial to being a photographer, because it goes with that line of work. Even in portraiture, half of that, like the 2 hours of you spending time with someone is the least of your, that's the 1% of your job. That's not even what we do 99% of the time. It's emailing, it's editing, it's trying to convince people that they need a new headshot. It's all of those things. It's not the actual shooting. It's not the one-on-one with the person. That is the cherry on top. So even if that's what scares you, don't worry, it's only a part of the equation. And if that's not what you do when you shoot still life or you shoot products or things like I do, then you're probably spending the majority of your time in your head thinking of concepts, and then later on actually shooting it, and then later on editing it. All of those things are things that you're doing pretty much alone or in your own head for the most part, and you're only satisfying yourself. So as an introvert, again, it's to your benefit to do this job. It's to your benefit to be a photographer or try to figure out how you can be a photographer, because it will play with who you are as a person just naturally. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I like this one. I hope you did too. Maybe subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.